What's up, Nestors? It's the Russian dude. There are moments in history when an entire nation becomes trapped inside two parallel realities at once. One is brutal, obvious, spelled out in plain black and white language, repeated endlessly on camera by the man who launched Europe's bloodiest war in decades. The other is just a fantasy world carefully stitched together by frightened commentators, exhaust audiences, political romantics, and those who desperately need to believe that someone, anyone, at least somebody, anyone other than Vladimir Putin is responsible for this nightmare. For almost 4 years, Putin has openly described what he wants, what he intends to do, and how long he plans to keep grinding Ukraine into a dust. He has never pretended to seek peace. He has never hinted at compromise. He has never deviated from his original stated plan. And yet, millions cling to the dream of a different Putin, a softer one, a peace-seeking one, a version who apparently whispers a secret pleas for negotiations between sips of tea at his palace. So today, let's speak plainly about the real Putin, the fantasy Putin, and the dangerous psychological trap that keeps so many Russians searching for hope in all the wrong places. Let's start with the illusion that refuses to die. The idea that Putin has been hunting for peace all along, but some sinister combination of Zelensky, European leaders, Ukrainian strikes, and Western conspiracy theories just keeps sabotaging his saintly efforts. This story is, everywhere in Russia. It pops on X, on Telegram channels, in YouTube commentaries by exhaust activists who genuinely need to believe there is some kind of hidden lever that, if pulled, could suddenly stop the war. And then the based, quote-unquote, crowd, as they call themselves, retells that fairy tale with religious devotion. They talk as if they have been to Putin's dacha personally, as if he told them themselves, revealing his heartbreak over a war he never wanted. They claim he begged for a deal in early 22. They claim Istanbul was a missed historic chance. They claim Trump's elections opened a window on peace. They claim Ukraine spoiled it all with a badly timed missile strike. They claim that European leaders humiliated him in the moment he extended his hand. They claim he tried in spring 22, fall 22, summer 23, fall 24, early 25, and everything failed. In this parallel universe, Putin is not the architect of the carnage. He's some kind of tragic, misunderstood hero constantly betrayed by the others. But remember what he actually said. Remember what he continues saying every time the topic arises. He says the special military operation, according to him, ends only when Russia achieves all of its goals and eliminates all the causes of the war. Which basically translates as that the regime change in Kyiv must happen, full surrender of Ukraine, and territorial expansion far beyond what Russia troops might currently hold. There has never been a quote suggesting otherwise. Never a document, never a trustworthy even leak, nothing. And it is absolutely absurd to pretend Putin's worldview magically morphs into something peaceful and benevolent simply because people are tired of dealing with this absolutely hopelessness of the reality. Multiple failed peace talks only add fuel to this fire of absurdity. Every time Russia refused to participate in meaningful conversation, it was a perfect opportunity to guess what? Blame Ukraine. It boils down to that and is very easy to understand for a person with the slightest common sense. It's just right there, it's obvious. And yet, the Russian propaganda was able to completely spin the narrative in the opposite direction. Let's talk about it in more details in our next chapter. Let's move deeper into this hallucinated world. The Istanbul talks in March 2022 was the mecca of delusion, basically. In the fantasy version, this was the closest humanity came to ending the war. Ukraine supposedly had a golden offer on the table. Putin was ready to stop, Zelensky selfishly refused. Boris Johnson then flew in like some kind of evil wizard to sabotage the agreement. Western leaders whispered poison in Kyiv's ear, and just like that, paradise was lost. Except none of that existed at the time, in the first place. Nobody was even talking about a grand peace formula in 2022. Not Ukraine, not Russia, not the West, not even Russian propaganda. Back then, Russia was thinking that it was winning. Putin thought that Kyiv was just days away from surrendering. The Russian media was confidently predicting Ukraine's collapse like they were just reading some kind of tomorrow's weather report, which was guaranteed for sure. Even Igor Girkin-Strelkov was boasting about Russia's inevitable victory. And if Russia believed it was winning, why would they even negotiate then anything? Well, that's right. It didn't. It won't. It will not. Meanwhile, their chief negotiator, Vladimir Bedinsky, had as much authority as the museum tour guide. He could not offer concessions, not offer solutions, compromises, because he had absolutely no power to do so. Why even send them? And the offer Russia brought was so ludicrous, so detached from the reality, that no sovereign nation could ever accept it. But the fantasy version needed a villain, so Zelensky became the scapegoat. The West became the mastermind, Ukraine's survival became stubbornness, and Putin somehow became the betrayed party. It was very complicated to say it out loud, but, well, here you are. Then came fall 2022. Ukraine's counteroffensive pushed Russia back. Putin annexed 4 regions he did not control. He declared those territories sacred, untouched, and even part of Russia forever. With just a stroke of a pen, he outlawed any negotiation that might involve territorial concessions. He slammed the door shut himself, not Ukraine, not Biden, not Johnson, Putin. This is what he did. And yet, the story persists that he is dying for peace while everyone else refuses to let him have it. It's truly one of the most unhinged and delusional narratives of this entire war. And Russian propaganda made it seem like that Russians themselves needed that kind of Putin. The one and only person trying to find a perfectly peaceful resolution while nobody else is cooperating. Let's talk about this ridiculous approach in our next chapter. Now let's address the painful part. Why do millions of Russians, especially educated ones, politically active, anti-war Russians, cling to the fantasy of Putin? Because reality is simply unbearable at this point. Because they feel powerless. They feel that they are used to believing they can influence something. Because acknowledging Putin's role means confronting a truth they cannot change. And when people cannot change reality, well, guess what? They often choose to change the story. That is exactly how you get alternative Putins. Putin who secretly hates the war, Putin who is pressured by European insults, Putin who is blocked by Ukraine's stubbornness, Putin who is a misunderstood poor little child, mastermind longing also for negotiations at the same time, and most importantly, Putin who is not a victim. Who is a victim, who is not a villain, Freud mistake here. This story spread because they offer a coping mechanism, and because, unlike real Putin, the virtual one is reachable. You cannot influence Putin in the Kremlin, but you can tweet at European politicians. You can email your Ukrainian officials, you can comment under Navalny Foundation posts, you can even beg world leaders to give peace a chance. You can try to impact someone, at least anyone, who might respond. That is a psychological engine behind this delusion. As long as Putin is treated like a natural disaster, unaffected by human efforts, people must redirect their desperation somewhere else. And well, so they try to influence the surrounding world because, well, at least this feels kind of actionable. At least you post a tweet and it's still there, it's not deleted or erased or anything. This is why the fantasy of Putin is so tempting. He gives people hope, false hope. Hope that does not cost anything, hope that does not require confronting the truth, that Putin himself acknowledged multiple times, that he has absolutely no intention to stop. So, who is the real Putin? Not the peace seeker, not the misunderstood victim, not the chess grandmaster forced into war by mythical external forces. The real Putin is exactly who he says he is. A man who believed time is on his side. A man who thinks his resources exceed those of all his enemies combined. A man who genuinely enjoys the war. A man who thrives in chaos because it distracts from everything he once feared. Rising prices, who cares? Burning forests, so what? Rampart corruption, that's okay, we've been living like this for 2 decades. Mobilization failures, not important. Thousands of soldiers dying every month, absolutely irrelevant. This war erased every domestic problem he once had to address. Pensioners freezing in Siberia, roads collapsing in Buryatia, governors stealing millions, all of this is absolutely irrelevant now. We got war going, people, that is what is important, he says. He's not answering questions about garbage landfills anymore. He's not meeting angry workers anymore. He does not deal with mothers complaining about poverty. Nothing like this. Absolutely nothing. He is only absorbed fully by war. War liberated him from any accountability. That is why he keeps going. It is his perfect environment. And that is why he will continue expanding the war whenever and wherever he can. If Russia takes Slavyansk, he will look towards Dnipro. If it takes Dnipro, he will eye Kharkiv once again. There is no threshold that satisfies him. There is no bargaining chip large enough to force him to rethink the mission. Russia does not need these territories. Russia cannot even afford them. But Putin does not operate on rational logic. Never did. He operates on obsession, ego, and the momentum of 25 years of unchecked power. And no, Europe no way can pressure him. Zelensky cannot offer him the right terms. Trump cannot negotiate the war away. The real Putin is not searching for an exit. That is the thing. He does not need one. He's not even driving on the road. He's driving through an empty field, making his own path regardless of where it leads. So yes, people are tired. People want a miracle. People want to believe that there is some hidden version of Putin who secretly craves peace, who whispers that I'm done into the void, who only needs the right moment to stop the slaughter. But that Putin does not exist. He never did. The real Putin has told the world exactly who he is. He has shown what he wants. He has demonstrated it with every missile, every mobilization, every annexation, every speech. And pretending otherwise will not save a single life. It will not end a single battle. It will not shorten this war by even one day. But facing reality, however bleak it is the only way we avoid drowning in fantasies that distort our understanding of what is coming next. Because the truth is harsh. Putin started this war. He prolongs this war. And he enjoys the conditions this war creates. And until the world stops pretending he is somebody else, this nightmare will continue. That is the reality. And reality, unlike fantasy Putin, does not change because we wish it could. Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support our work, the links down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims are resolve they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe